coasters, drink coasters are a, here we go, here we go. Drink coasters are a big seller at art and craft shows. And normally what I use are blank 4x4 wall tiles. Actually, I think these might be 4 1/4, but these are just blank floor tiles that you can get at a big box store. I get these at Lowe's. You can go to, sometimes you can go to a Habitat Restore, thrift stores, yard sales. Anywhere you see these, pick them up. These are like crafting gold, okay? I recently picked up a whole box of these stone tiles. I don't know what kind of stone this is, but I picked up a whole bunch of these, probably a couple of dozen. And I did some experimenting offline with some acrylic paints using my smash technique, where I put paint on one tile and then smash the other tile, take them apart, and I get two. So I was a little bit nervous about doing that with these tiles because they're very porous and they have a lot of little nooks and crannies and crevices. But I was pleasantly surprised by how well the paint took to these tiles. Now, I did seal these on top with a top coat of resin, so they're nice and smooth and shiny. They have so much awesome texture. I want to do another set. I didn't film this set. I made a set of 4. I didn't film it, but I want to try it again on camera and show you how I made these. So follow along and let's get started. And I am going to collect the drips on this wooden fish. I've been collecting the drips for a little while, a couple weeks. I'm going to make something out of this, but the tail is needing some work, so I'm going to collect the drips on the tail. So I always like to pick up tiles whenever I see them at thrift stores or yard sales. These are going to be really interesting because they have a lot of little crevices. There seems to be a little rougher side, and excuse my fingernails, but I was doing some gardening, and then a smoother side. But I'll show you what I'm going to do. The type of paint that you use to me is not as important because you're going to top coat it with resin. I buy a lot of Dollar Tree paints. They're not very pigmented, but their colors are really nice. So this is turquoise, and I already have it mixed in the bottle with just some water in this one. This one I just bought, so I need to mix it in a cup with some Floetrol and water. And then this is what? Folk art? No, this is Anita's in antique gold that I already have mixed up too. And then I have my base white that is titanium white by Saks Arts, and I buy it in the half-gallon and mix up my own with some Floetrol. Now, the mix that works well for me for the white is 1 part paint to 3 parts Floetrol and a little bit of water in the squirt bottle until I'm happy with the consistency. That is the mix that works well for me. So I don't really have an exact formula. And I've got my apron on so I don't get my Atlanta Braves shirt dirty. Okay, so this is a brand new bottle. And I'm just going to put a couple of globs in here. This is probably going to be enough. I'm not going to make that many. But on this set, I only use the turquoise and then the gold and then a little bit of white. But I want to add some of that dark blue in there because it's really pretty. And then Floetrol, I'm only going to add a little bit. It's more like a 1-to-1. But the Floetrol just adds a little bit of consistency to the paint. It smooths the consistency. And it also can give us some good cells unintentionally. I'm definitely going to thin it with some water. I want my colors to be a little bit thinner. Okay. don't need my stick right now. This is probably about had it. And then got this mixed up really well. And this mixed up really well. Feel like I'm running out of this gold, so I am just going to add the tiniest little bit of Floetrol just to get the last bit of color out. And these cheaper paints, like the Dollar Tree paints or anything you get out, like Anita's or Apple Barrel, they're not as pigmented, so you want to be really careful what you add to them because you can really break the binders in the acrylic, in the paint itself, and then you end up with a lot of cracking. And I've experienced that lately. All right, so I want to gather the drips on the tail because I have plenty on the body of the fish. So I want to get the drips here. I could collect the drips on a silicone mat and make some really cool jewelry and whatever cabochons, but I don't make jewelry. Not everybody makes jewelry out of paint skins. I do not do that. There are plenty of other people that do that, and I'm not going to do that. So these tiles I've already cleaned just with some alcohol and a paper towel. I did that offline. And this is going to be really, really simple. This is my method. If you have another method, then by all means go for it. And I have no idea why there's pink in that. So I've just got some white first. This is not a pillow. I don't consider this a pillow. I consider this my base. Okay, and it's kind of like when you're making cookies or muffins, you grease your pan so that everything comes out smoothly. That's what I'm doing. Again, there is no rhyme or reason for this pattern. There is no pattern. I'm mainly interested in the color because these colors just are magical together. Just watch. Okay, now I'm taking another tile. It's already dripping. I'm going to smoosh it together. And I'm almost wanting it to drip on purpose because I want to cover this fish. And I'm just running my hand around the edge. And now watch. That is really cool. It's not going to continue dripping, I don't think. This one over here. You can see the little cracks in there. But look how pretty these colors are together. That gold and then that blue sort of blend to give a nice sea green. So I like that one. I'm just going to get some base coat on here. Okay. Seems to work better to me if I put it right in the middle. I don't know why, but I've noticed that in the past. So now I'm just going to squish. The weight of the tile really helps, I think, to sort of smoosh the paints together and get it all kind of moving where it needs to be. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that one. Little thick right there, but look at this one. So here's what I'm gonna do. Got Need to get some paint right there. There we go. And I don't know what is causing this to sell up, but that is gorgeous. I can't keep these in stock. When I have them in art shows, then this is something so colorful, people are really just drawn to it. Look at that. I'm gonna try to encourage that. Here we go. I don't want to overstretch it. And now I kind of need to make another matching set for this one maybe. Although I don't really like that one as much. Okay. So this seems to work a lot better. Whoa, scared me. Layering the paints like this. And then squashing them until they sort of ooze out. Even if you layer the paints exactly the same way and do the exact same things for every tile, you're going to get a different look every single time, Ooh, guaranteed. look at that one. That is wicked. Not as much yellow as before, but I'm going to try to sort of stretch that down and get that yellow pulled back in there. That is pretty cool. Like that one. Like that a lot. And I like the edges on this one too. You know, don't forget your edges because I like it when I have that nice rolled edge. You don't have to have the color on the edge, but it's pretty nice. What do you think? I'm gonna try without the white. Just want to see. What if I start with the blue and then the teal, then the gold, and maybe like a drop of white. I'm squishing it until I get it to the edge. I'm not entirely sure why the cells are appearing the way that they are because I have no silicone, I have no additive whatsoever except for Floetrol and water. The only thing I can think of is that maybe it's the consistency of the paint and then also the way that, the different layers as I'm smashing the tiles together, the different layers are reacting with each other and causing those cells to appear in the different layers. I mean, I really don't know. And it's because I really just don't know a whole lot about fluid art and the different techniques to know how I created this and what chemical reaction caused this. I'm just having fun with paint, guys. I let everything dry overnight and then I mixed up the Let's Resin Fast Cure as my top coat. Now you do notice there's still a lot of texture on these tiles. I was not expecting the paint to cover the holes completely or make a nice smooth surface. I knew that was not going to happen because these tiles are
And I
so
really
textured.
didn't think that adding a top coat of resin was going to create a nice, smooth, glassy, solid surface either because those tiles are so textured. So it's going to be a different look than my other coasters, but I think it's going to be cool. And it's going to hide any fish eyes, flaws, dog hair, dust, bugs that may end up on the tile too. Then use a heat gun, any heat gun, low heat, high air, just to pop the surface bubbles. And I go over each tile a few times until I don't see any more bubbles. I let the resin cure overnight, and then I took these outside and used my belt sander just to sand off any drips that happen to end up on the back. And because you've noticed, I don't tape the backs of my tiles before I do painting or before I do resining. And to me, that's just an unnecessary step that I don't feel like taking the time to do because it takes a lot of time. So I just take them outside and sand them with my belt sander. It works really well for me. Now, what I'm doing here is just taking self-adhesive cork tiles and just putting them on the backs, and that prevents the tile from scratching someone's, countertop, and also prevents the tile from sliding around. I really, really love how all of these turned out. It's just, hit and miss, whatever pattern you're going to end up with. You probably couldn't recreate the same pattern over if you tried a million times. But that's what makes this technique so great too, is that you really, truly end up with a one-of-a-kind piece. So let me know what you think about this technique and let me know what you think about these tiles. Should I make some more? I think I should.